Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and since it's Women's History Month, I'm here today to talk to you about Sisters, the 2015 comedy movie by Tina Fey and Amy Poehler. I love these two actresses so much. They're so funny. They met back when they was in SNL, and they have made three movies together that I know of, but two where they actually starred together. The first one was Mean Girls, and they were separated throughout the entire movie, but that's the movie that Tina Fey produced and helped write. And she also starred in it. And then they came out with Baby Mama, where they starred together in it. I didn't like Baby Mama. I just did not like that movie. And nobody really liked it either. And then now there's this movie. And this movie only has one solo entry in it. And my feelings about this movie is split. It's been split ever since I first saw it. But I liked it so much in theaters that I bought it on DVD. But then I rewatched it after many years later, because it's been a good while. And I watched it again last night, and I'm just kind of like, why do I like this movie for? It's not that funny. And so I just kept scratching my head, and then I'm like, oh, that's right, the party scene. That's the best part of the entire movie, because it's so wild and crazy. But it's not until like the third act of the movie. But to tell you the truth, it's not even really feel like the third act. It feels more like the second act, because the first and second act are kind of blended together. And then the third act is kind of like just the overall, I don't know, is the party part the third act or the second? I'm not really sure. But when it comes to this movie, it's the third collaboration in my opinion, but really the second, and it didn't really do too well in the box office and critically and everything. Like, it had mixed reviews. And since then, I don't think they worked together in the movie since. They still hang and they still do other stuff, but I don't think they've done this. Now, they have done their own television projects. Tina has went on to 30 Rock, and Amy went on to Parks and Recreation. I love that show, and I have it on DVD. And they've also produced other stuff. Like, Tina has produced the Kimmy's Mickett something. I don't know what the world that show is. I've never seen it. I tried to watch it and I just couldn't get into it. And Amy has produced Three Busy Bellas that lasted for 2 seasons, and Broad City that lasted for 5. And so they're still doing their own thing and they're still killing it. And but I'm now looking at this movie through different eyes. There's some things I never noticed in this movie when I watched it years ago. One, I did not realize all the improvisation in the movie. This movie is a lot of improv in this movie, which Tina Fey was known for doing before she went to Saturday Night Live. And, because both Amy and Tina are from Saturday Night Live. Also, there's a lot of former SNL stars in here. Some were current at that time, but now they're all former. And also, Paula Pell, who wrote this movie, is known for writing for SNL. So it feels like a giant SNL skit movie. And you can tell when you watch it, and it just feels kind of odd. Like, there are times when characters will say something, and it's like, why did you say that for? Like, that makes no sense, and that's not really all that funny. And I hate to down on this movie, but it's just, this is one movie I feel conflicted about. Like, I have mixed feelings about it. It's kind of like, okay, the characters, when they talk and say things in this movie, think of a former Disney star who finally broke away from Disney, got put in something else, and can't wait to say something raunchy or a bunch of F-bombs. And that's how the dialogue is in this movie. There's tons of cussing that's just thrown in there for the sake of cussing because they think it's funny, but it's not. They say a bunch of lewd stuff like that they think is funny, but it's not funny. Then there's all the improv stuff, which sometimes that can go on and on and on, and somebody needs to like zip it because it's kind of like you're running out of stuff to say and you're just saying random stuff because you think it's funny, but But it stopped being funny a long time ago, but they just keep going on and on and on. And it's like, don't do that. Y'all are too talented for that. Because these women really are talented. Like, they really are. They're extremely funny women. But it's just like, the things they say in this movie just aren't really funny, and they're saying it because they think it's funny, but it's like they just keep going on and on and on. And this movie starred a lot of people. John Leguizamo from House of Buggin', 'cause that's a sketch comedy show right there. Then you have Ike Barinholtz. He's from Mad TV and everything. So you got like people from 3 different sketch comedy shows from back in the day that was really hilarious and stuff. But there's nobody from In Living Color, I've noticed. And not only that, but I've noticed something in here that I didn't realize before. There are some insensitive racial jokes in here, and they're all said by Tina Fey's character, and because she plays Kate. And I mentioned this in Mean Girls, that pretty much every project Tina Fey has been a part of, she has either written or said some like racial insensitive stuff. And it's apparent in all her projects and stuff, and where she has creative control over and stuff. And since this is, even though this is written by somebody else, a good chunk of it is improv. And there's even a section on the DVD that's improvisation. And so it makes me wonder, the racial stuff she was saying, was that just her coming up with it, or was it just written for her and everything? Because when it comes to racial insensitivity, she always tends to go after blacks or Asians and everything. And it's like, why is it always those two? I've never understood that. Now, I still like Tina Fey. And no, I don't. Well, at least I hope she's not racist. But I've never really thought of her as a racist person. I hope to God she's not. I think what it is with her is that, see, she's 52 years old. So she grew up in the 70s and the 80s. And back then, comedy was really different back then. Basically, comedy was all about offending people and making fun of everything. And it was even like that in the 90s and stuff. But then once you got around like the mid 2000s and stuff, people started to educate themselves and started to listening to diverse groups. And they started realizing, hey, this stuff ain't okay no more. Like Jennifer Aniston's talked about Gen Z and how they don't like Friends because there's a lot of inappropriate stuff in the Friends series, and there is. Same thing with like Saved by the Bell, but of course those were made in the 90s and comedy was just different back then, And even though it was wrong, it just went over people's head because it was the norm. But it's not the norm no more. But the comedians are still trying their best to make it the norm because they don't want to grow out of that because that's what they're used to. And I truly just think she's one of those type of people who just grew up watching all the offensive comedy that she saw as a kid and thought, oh, well, that's funny and everything. That's how you make jokes. And then she continues doing that, And I don't think it's clicking in her head that, hey, look, we're in the 2020s now, or the 2000s or whatever, and it's time to grow out of that and everything because people don't like having their culture made fun of. Now, to be fair, she doesn't say no slurs in this movie, but she always bringing up Asian people this and Asian people that, and it's kind of like, dude, grow up. Like, this stuff ain't funny no more. Now, stuff that she has produced and written in the past, Mean Girls, and this one party teen movie, the one day I will talk about in the future, I just can't think of the name right now. It has Jennifer Love Hewitt and a bunch of other 90 teen stars. And in both Mean Girls and in that movie, the N-word is used. And it's used by like a non-black person. Now, you know me, I hate the N-word, period. I don't care what race you are. I don't like hearing that. But then I said this like I justified it in Mean Girls. The context is where it's set up. It makes sense to make that joke. I wish I didn't have to hear that word, but it makes sense in the context of everything because it was written smart. In Mean Girls, you have this like Asian diva type girl who goes to high school. She's a foreign exchange student and she doesn't speak English. So when she hears like all the black kids using that word, she thinks it's okay to use that word as well. And it makes sense in the context and makes it funny, even though I hate hearing that word. Also, in the party movie, you have three white ghetto guys who think they are black. And one of them uses the N word because that's what ghetto white people do and stuff. And cause they think it's okay for them to use it because they're ghetto and they're on some type of same level as like black people. And so they said it around a bunch of black folks who did not like it and chased them out of the party. And even though I hated hearing that, it made sense for the context of like that movie and it was funny. But still, you don't have to always use that word, and I wish they wouldn't. And this isn't the first time she's been called out on that. On that Kimmy show I told you about, apparently she offended like Asian people. I didn't want to read the article because I'm tired of hearing about like racism and this and that. But apparently she had, she offended like the Asian community, and that show came out not too long ago. So she's still doing that crap. And then on 30 Rock, there was a blackface character. And it's kind of like, she apologized for like many years later, but like, yeah. And it's like, the thing about her, like I said before, I think she's just one of those type of comedians who just doesn't care and thinks everything's funny. And that's the problem with comedians. Comedians seem to think they can make fun of everything and everyone and be as edgy and offensive as they can, and everybody's supposed to laugh at that. And it's like, get over yourself. I truly believe comedians in general are demented in the head. They take all their past trauma, they ball it all up in like one cohesive thought, and then they make comedy out of it many, many decades later, and they make fun of whoever messed with them in the past, but they don't actually make fun of that person. They make fun of everybody else. And that's just childish in my opinion. Go after the person who traumatized you, not innocent people who you don't know. And that's the problem with comedians. They just think they think that making fun of folks is like the funniest thing in the world. And when you try to tell them it's not, or they're insensitive, then they get angry and then they get pissy at you and stuff. And it's like they take nothing serious until you mess with them. When you mess with them, then all of a sudden they're offended. And this is why comedians need to grow the F up, because they're not childs no more, or kids, or whatever you want to call it. They're grown people who still harboring over like bad stuff that happened to them in the past. And like I said before, an insult will hurt a million times worse than a punch in the face, because an insult, a verbal one, will stick with you until all time. But you have to get like help with that, you know? And so, like, yeah, it's weird. Like, I'm starting to feel differently about Tina Fey now, because it's kind of like, who are you really? And why exactly do you do this? Like, I'm assuming it's because of the old style of comedy, but why are you still using that style in today's time? Like, you know what I'm saying? And I hope to God she's not a bad person, because I really do like her. I think she's really funny and she's amazing looking and everything. And, you know, but it's just kind of like, you really have to second guess these comedians, man, because some of them will always say, oh, it's just a joke. That's why I'm racist and everything in my humor. But then some of them really, really are. Like, take Louis CK and everything. He has made so many sexual jokes and assault jokes and everything. And now we know he's a disgusting person in real life. I remember like Reno 911. God, I love that show. It's like hilarious. I had no idea it was an improv show until I found out. And then, so I bought it on DVD, the entire, like, complete, like, set, and for, like, $30, right? I was thrilled to have it. I'm like, wow, this is a great deal. Because it lasted for 6 seasons back in the day. And so, when I watched it, I was stunned to find out they used the N-word every other episode, in nearly every episode. And I'm not joking. I mean, it was like they'll say it in one episode, skip another, and then they'll say it in the next episode. And all the non-black characters say it more than that the actual black ones. The black ones barely use it and stuff. And like I said before, I'm not okay when black folks use that word either. But then it's kind of like, why are all the white and Jewish people using this word and everything? And it's just, there's only one of like the main original cast who never used that word. And of course, she justified it, talking about, oh, it's just comedy and everything. When somebody asked her about that, talking about, oh, it's just comedy, it's not supposed to be taken serious, blah, blah, blah. So that's the problem with comedians. They always say, oh, it's just comedy, you're not supposed to take it serious, blah, 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 blah. But you're literally offending people for the sakes of giggles and everything. And when I found out the show was improv, I'm just like, oh, so they chose to use the N word on Reno 911 over and over and over again. And in the DVD commentary where they're talking about it, and one person, like the main dude, Tom, with the short shorts and everything, like he used it in the commentary like it's like any other word. And I'm just like, dude, what is wrong with you? And he said it just to be edgy and said to show that he just literally does not care. But I bet him and that other dude sure care. So this is another thing I'm starting to wonder if they're racist or not. Because him and the other dude who plays Junior, they was out and about somewhere. And some black dudes walked up to them and they got scared in real life. Because they know for a fact they make fun of black people on Reno 911. So they assumed that the black dudes who walked up to them was pissed and everything. But it turned out they're just fans of the show and did not care. And the one who plays Trudy, I really wonder if she's racist because her character was racist on the show and kept using the N-word, and this is improv, and she chose to play a racist character who uses the N-word and stuff. And it really makes me look at them differently now because I can't look at them the same way no more. And because I never knew they used the N-word in the show because it always got beeped out and everything on television. But I'm getting ahead of my subject. I'm getting back to Sisters. And so, like, when it comes to both these characters, like, Tina plays Kate and Amy plays Maura. Maura is, like, the goody-goody two-shoes who's never done anything wrong. And Kate is the wild child who constantly does drugs and drinks and bangs when she was, like, a teenager. Honestly, I think these roles should have been flipped. I've seen both Tina and Amy play wild child type characters before in their 40s, pretending like they're in their 20s, when they was on Jimmy Fallon's show doing the Jersey Floor, and they was amazing in that. Here, I think Tina overdoes it. She's trying too hard to be a 40-year-old, pretending to be like a 20-year-old. It's just like nothing she's saying is coming out genuine. It's literally like she's pretending to be this person, and she is. And I've seen her be mean before. She's great when she's mean, but it's when she's trying to play a mean midlife crisis type woman. Like, it has to be, man. When you're in your older age and you're trying to act like you're 20, it's nothing but a midlife crisis. Because she's 52 now. And so this movie was made a few years back. So she was in her 40s and stuff, mid 40s. And it's just like she didn't come across genuine in her dialogue and stuff. It's like, take every ghetto loud woman, every sassy diva type woman, and that's her character, and it just didn't come off genuine. I think she should have played the other character, the goody goody two shoes one, with her soft sounding voice, because that's what she was in Mean Girls. And of course, Amy Poehler, she played like, you know, the older lady pretending to be a teen person in Mean Girls, and she has that squeakier voice, and she sounds more crazier when she's pretending to be younger. So I think the role should have been flipped, but I guess that's why they didn't want to do it, because they played those type of characters before, you know. And so, like, basically this movie has little to no plot. It has no consequences because everything is wrapped up in a nice little bow towards the end of like the movie. And it's kind of like, well, if all this bad stuff is happening in the movie and there's no consequences and everybody gets a happy ending, what was the point? What kind of message are you trying to send? So they don't make no sense. Now, Bobby Mulligan, boy, he is hilarious in this movie. Everything he does and says is crazy, but of course, it's improv and it feels like an SNL skit. So it's basically just him doing like the weekly updates, like him playing like a character and just going off the rails. Kate McKinnon's in this, and Kate McKinnon is, I don't know, it's weird. When Kate McKinnon's on SNL, she is golden. But when she's in everything else, she just comes off kind of like monotone and bland, but in a kind of hilarious way, but not really. And so, like, I don't know. Oh, also, there's some offensive jokes about lesbians in here, which is ironic because Kate McKinnon is a lesbian, but of course, you know, comedians, they just make fun of everything. But it's just kind of weird because it's that weird joke about lesbians, but how they're not fun and they're boring, but the gay men are like the life of the party. And I don't know because, like, they're probably thinking more about, like, you know, the more manly looking lesbians, because the girlier looking lesbians are like a lot of fun and everything. But basically what it is that Kate, Tina McKay's not Tina McKay, Tina Fey character who plays Kate, she is a woman struggling. She got fired from her job like she does many of her other jobs. She's living with a woman. She's working from her home and she's not very good at it. She's supposed to be like a nail tech type person, and also a person who does like hair and stuff like that. But I think it's mostly nail tech. But she's not very good at it, and she keeps burning people and stuff. And so, like, she got kicked out of her apartment from her roommate. And her daughter is supposed to be like this goody two shoes who's like, you know, tired of her mom and tired her mom can't get her life together. So basically, she didn't come home for like summer school and instead secretly stayed with her aunt Maura. And that later on pisses off Tina Fey's character when she finds it out later on in the movie. So, and Amy's character is just a goody two shoes who's always wanting to help people and goody this and goody that. Anyway, they get a call from their parents, and the parents are selling their childhood home and they're moving into like a condo retirement looking type home, but a condo type stuff. This pisses off both the girls and their fears because this is the house they grew up in. So you think this would be a movie where they will be all nostalgic and be all like, oh, remember this and remember that, and we have to like save this home and stuff like that. It kind of is and it's kind of not. They do get nostalgic and everything, and they reminisce in their old room and they start putting on their old clothes and reading each other's diaries, and it makes for a pretty hilarious bit. But then they all like, you know what? I had lots of sex in this house and blah, 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 blah. And you never. So we're going to get you laid in this house. We're going to throw a party like we used to back in the day. So that's basically what the premise of the movie is. They want to throw a party to get the Amy character laid at the house. And it's just kind of like, that's it. Like, that's literally it. It's not two sisters reminiscing about this and about that and stuff like that. So then they spend the rest of the movie gathering stuff at the party. It's supposed to be funny, but it's really not. This is why the SNL and like weird Disney Channel stuff comes in, because it's kind of like they're saying and doing this stuff thinking it's funny and it's not. And so they start running into tons of people they used to know back in the day and started inviting them. And Maya Rudolph's character is a person that Tina Fey's character does not like and will not invite her to the party, which really pisses off her character and stuff. She's like the snooty woman and stuff like that. Anyways, the Amy character falls in love with a handyman who she sees at first sight. And so they invite him to like the movie. They don't know this dude, but they just invited him to, like, not the movie, but invited him to the party. And so basically they throw a party, which starts off to be lame. And then so Tina's character asked the John Leguizamo's character to invite like a drug dealer and liven the party up. And it's John Cena. John Cena's only funny only funny part in this movie is when he has the drugs out and he's naming every drug. That is the only funny part of his character, because John Cena, just like The Rock, cannot act. And so, like, I don't care what you say, he can't. All right, just because he's a wrestler and he's been a multiple champion does not mean they can act. But anyways, So then the party starts to get more lively because, but nobody's really doing drugs. It's really just the Bobby character who's did all the drugs by mistake, and he goes crazy. But then people start to start to get drunk, and this is when all the crazy stuff happened. Oh, let me point this character out. Hae Won. She is hilarious in this movie. She's an Asian character, and she's played by Greta Lee. And they met her at like her nail salon type place, and they kept trying to say her name, but they kept saying it wrong. This is when the improv stuff starts to happen way too long, and it goes on and on and on. But it's pretty hilarious and stuff. This woman is hilarious, and all she has to do is talk in a soft, calm, monotone voice and a very bland voice, and she is just hilarious. She doesn't have to have any crazy facial expressions or nothing like that. She's just funny. And so the Maya Rudolph character comes over because she gets kicked out of the party, and she's jealous and pissed because she wants to stay. So she starts putting paint in the tank system to like where all the water in the house turns into blue paint. Oh, I forgot to mention. The people who are supposed to buy this house, they want a lot of stuff redone and taken out. And this, of course, pisses off both those characters. Now, of course, they're not going to get the money for the house if they wreck it. And, of course, that's what happens. In the entire climax of the party, the entire house gets wrecked. A tree goes through the roof. There are holes all in the wall. There's a sinkhole with the pool and everything. There's paint and drawings all over like the walls. It is a hilarious party and stuff. It's like finally these older people get to like cut loose after being in their 40s and stuff, and it makes for the best part of like the movie. But then Tina Fey gets a call from the parents all like, look, when we sell the house, we'll give you half the money. And so that way now she can at least get her own place because she is technically homeless and has no job. And so now she's kind of like crap. So she's trying to like make everybody leave like the house and everything like that. But then she takes her sister's cell phone by mistake, and turns out that her daughter's been staying with her all summer and she had no idea. And she's been like a crazy woman all summer wondering where her daughter is at. So this causes both the sisters to like fight. Now, before I get into anything more, I gotta talk about this one hilarious bit. Amy and the James character are trying to do it. He slips because Tina's character put down some goo on the floor earlier and slipped and fell in it. And so he slips and he falls on a ballerina like musical thing. Well, it falls on his butt and it goes up his butt. It is one of the most hilarious things in the entire movie. But anyways, the parents come home and they see that their kids have wrecked their house, and it's wrecked beyond repair. So there's a huge speech where they're like mad and they're angry. At some point, everybody leaves. So you think now, okay, everybody's screwed. They can't sell the home, so maybe they'll keep it and blah, 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 and stuff like that. Well, Amy's characters are like, I'll just give you the money to fix the house. They're like, no, we're tired of y'all. We're sick and tired of our kids. And so then the Tina's characters all like, look, give me 2 weeks to fix it up and blah, 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 and stuff like that. And in 2 weeks, she and along with James fix it up. And this is the part that's just kind of so unbelievable. One, there's never been no indication that her character knows how to fix stuff, because she's just known as a party girl who's like, does like nail tech and stuff. But her and James are able to fix this house up in 2 weeks, and it looks brand spanking new. Now here's the problem. James did not get paid for this because Amy doesn't have, not Amy, but Tina doesn't have that much money to pay him. So he's all like, whatever, I'll just do it. And it's just kind of like, really? You're just going to do it? So it's kind of like they got rescued without having to actually earn the money to pay him. And it was just like a favor. So it's like, what lesson do you learn? You get to be a wild person, wreck a house, and then you get somebody to fix it for free. So that don't make no sense. And of course they get to stay there, I think, and everything like that. And so once again, she has not learned her lesson. Like the Tina character had literally learned no lesson in the entire movie. Everything just get handed to her once everything gets like wrecked. But the only thing that good came from that is that when the sinkhole happened, her daughter got pissed at her and then fell in the sinkhole, and then Tina's character jumped in to save her. And it was a long drop, but she didn't care. And that's the only redeemable quality in the entire movie for her character. And then when her daughter had to climb up the ladder, she was scared, and her mom just like climbed the rocks because that's what she did when she used to get drunk at parties and stuff. And so they get the bond over that moment. So they reconcile over that. But then it's kind of like, what about everything else? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so like, then you have the Amy's character who finally wants to get with like James, but she doesn't even live in the state that he's in, and because she lives in someplace completely different. And there's a part in here that I just felt was so odd, but it was cute, but it was odd. So like, she's pretending to drown, and she's like, help me. Like, and then her sweet sounding voice. And it's so cute and adorable when she says it. But then he's all like, I know you was a lifeguard and everything. But then she's still like, help me. So then he jumps in and he saves her from like drowning and pretends to give her mouth to mouth playing along with her. That was really stupid. One, how did she even know he would hear her? And two, all I could think about is how dumb that was. Like, because people actually drown. Like, it wasn't even funny like it was in The Sandlot. At least in The Sandlot, it was hilarious. But here, it was played just as like a cute kind of way. But it was just kind of stupid in my opinion. So anyway, it just ends on everybody getting what they want. The Tina character now works at a nail salon type place because Hae-won works there, and she's all like, we can do business together because her character fell in love with the Bobby's character. And it's weird because you would never think those two would get like together. We find out why the Maya Rudolph character is like, the way she is, because the Tina character had like a party, and the Maya character that was a cop, and she had to narc on them when she didn't want to, and because of that she was never invited to any party again, and she just is bitter over that. But then she hooks up with the John character, like Azamis, and it's just kind of like everybody gets a nice little bow in this movie, but nobody learned a freaking lesson. It's just everything is handed to them. Ooh, I've been talking about this movie for over 30 minutes. Happy Women's History Month, everybody. All right, I'll talk to you later. Bye.